Hello everyone, this is StrawberryShorty and we are back with the Wishing Stone, trying to solve puzzles and find things. A piece of paper with some puzzle on it. We lay on the grass field, stare at the sky. The world seems to have turned from a straight line into a spiral. I still don't know what that small key goes to, by the way. But let's try this. Another small key? There's two small keys? What kind of sorcery is this? The wrap for our last piece of chocolate. I mean the wrapper? Everyone completed registration today. What a relief. Gina closed the door and sat down in her chair, letting out a long breath. She truly looks relieved, and honestly I feel the same. Let's celebrate with this big piece of chocolate. It's the last one I saved. We won't be able to get another piece in the real world. Is it from the festival market a year and a half ago? Yeah, but it's chocolate. I'm sure it's still fine. I'm not worrying about that. I'm just surprised you kept it for such a long time. I used to have the habit of saving some for Tommy, so I usually only eat a small portion at a time. Now that Tommy is in Foreverland, my shares of chocolate seem to be quite a bit, and it took me a long time to eat them. Anyway, this is the last piece left. Perfect for celebration. Once we get to Foreverland, there will be unlimited chocolate and all the other tasty things. Gina breaks the square piece of chocolate into two halves and gives one to me. The bittersweet, rich taste melts in my mouth, and suddenly I feel sad. I just ate my last piece of chocolate in the real world. We'll have a lot of lasts very soon. But it's okay. We still have a future in Foreverland, and the family will be together forever. It was so great that Dad changed his mind and registered. I was really worried. I told you not to worry. I was pretty sure Dad would come with us. How could you be sure about that? I mean, he didn't look like he would agree, and he thinks very negatively about Foreverland. Well, I wasn't 100% sure, but I knew the chance was very good. Like, more than 90%. Why did you think so? Well, I designed a strategy. I fought with Dad on purpose, pissed him off, acted and talked in a way that would make him believe I was very strong-headed and completely fixated on my own idea that I would not listen to any other reasoning. And I made him understand that you and Mom are in the same boat. I used some harsh words, but hey, it's me. I don't shy away from saying what I think. And I fought with Dad here and there before. It shouldn't seem too strange. Wait, what? You planned ahead, fought with Dad, and said those things on purpose? Yeah, anyway, I wanted Mom to persuade him from a different perspective later. You see, for Dad, living in Foreverland is meaningless. And like you said, his view on it is very negative. But the remainder of our life here, our last days, and how we die means a lot to him. Dad loves us, and I was sure he would want us to live peacefully and possibly happy in our last days. And he would want us to die in peace too. So if you made him believe that the only way he can achieve those things is to sign up for Foreverland with us, he would do it. I was shocked. I had no idea that Gina and Mom had a plan like this. I don't know that she mentioned Mom being in on the plan. But you said some really harsh things that could really hurt his feelings. Like he was making us die with him and we would go to Foreverland without him and so on. What if he was really hurt and pissed that he didn't care anymore? No way. Dad is not that petty. He's very rational, and he would make important decisions based on feelings from a fight. He wouldn't make them. He always prioritizes us before himself, and he will make choices that he believes are best for us. I fight with him often because we have disagreements on things, but I have to say, our dad is a great dad. Gina throws the half piece of chocolate into her mouth and gives me a big smile. By the way, I didn't tell Mom about the plan before I had the big fight with Dad. I told her about it after you went out for a drive with Dad. Mom is not good at acting and hiding real thoughts and feelings. I think Dad is like that too, actually. I'm the weird one in our household, haha. But you can never ever tell Dad about this, okay? If he knows about it, he'll be very mad at us. Did you tell him? Dad's been very not mentioned in this. Of course, I won't tell him, but if Foreverland is meaningless to him and he is only doing this for the real-world version of us, maybe he wouldn't actually enter on the day, or maybe once we are in there, he wouldn't care anymore. I don't think so. The digital versions of us are not meaningless to him. If they are, he would not worry about all the possible risks and downsides of Foreverland, and he wouldn't worry about us not being able to maintain our integrity. Dad is very soft-hearted. He will care. Don't worry about it, okay? Okay, about the part that we might not be able to maintain our integrity, what do you think about it? It's true that there might be some risks, especially considering Foreverland is still relatively new. But there are always risks in life that we need to take in order to live on. Any risks would be worth it. Don't you agree? I nod my head with some hesitation. At that time, I just felt that Gina was so smart with courage and a clear vision. She knew exactly what she wanted and how to get it. Years later, I started to realize Gina might be someone who's very good at hiding her real thoughts and feelings, and I might never have truly understood her. Mom bought 2 identical paper notebooks with locks today. And she says these will be our diaries, one for me now and one for Elsa when she's a little older. I don't like the pink heart on the cover, but pink was the first color of life on Earth after all. It marks the very beginning, so it is special. Writing diaries on paper is weird to me, but resources are limited these days. I just hate wasting things, so I guess I'll write something down once in a while. Our next door neighbor Tommy is a poor child. He's the only child and his parents are always busy. He stays with the nanny most of the time, but she doesn't teach him much at all. He's only a couple months younger than me and almost school age, but he can only read and write a few basic words. I feel so bad for him. I'll go play with him more and teach him how to read and write from now on. School is an interesting place, and I've made a lot of friends here. Time spent with friends is quite different from time at home. They're also different, and we exchange interesting ideas and information, too. Tommy is in the same school as me, but not in the same class. I heard he's doing well studying. I think I can take some credit for that. I should hang out with him more when I have time. Elsa is getting cuter and cuter. She still doesn't laugh or smile much, but she would follow me around the house calling my name all the time these days. It's so sweet. Besides, she's really smart. She learns whenever I teach her fast. It's so great to have such a younger sister. But I have to say, it's not easy to be a good older sister. With those big cute eyes looking at me with admiration, I have to pretend that I'm afraid of nothing and can handle anything. Even when it's something that I don't know how to do or I'm afraid to do. But this is how an older sister should be. Mom told me the older sibling should set an example for the younger one. How I behave would influence Elsa, and she would naturally learn from me, so I have to be a good example for her. I had a long chat with Dad a few days ago, and I learned that Mom actually had a similar job as Dad before she had me. Pregnancy and giving birth made her health decline. Dad says it's a good thing. It was hard for her even before she was pregnant. Her work is dangerous and bad for health, so it's better that Mom stopped and stayed home. But Dad is still out there doing it and will destroy his health. I don't like it. I did research after that. I know Dad loves his job and people like him are working hard to slow the negative changes to our environment. But looking at it long term, the trend of degradation is unstoppable. It will only get worse. Well, at least for the next 1,000 years or so. I think we should be space pioneers instead and get out of here. There's not much hope here anymore. It's better to have a new home on a new planet. I can't believe I'll graduate from elementary school in half a year. Time flies. Ever since both Elsa and I started school, Mom has been quite a bit more free time, but sometimes I feel she seems a bit lonely. Uncle Owen visited less recently too, and I think something is a bit off. I should talk to him more next time he visits and figure out if something is wrong. But for now, the most important thing for me is to get into Belfort. It's the only middle school here that has the special pioneer class. I will only have a chance if I get into that class. I have to study hard now. I got into Belfort's special class. It should be a time to celebrate, but then I heard Uncle Owen and Tommy's family are going to Foreverland. I'm so pissed now. How can a virtual world compare to the real one? This is literally giving up on life. I used to think Dad was too harsh on Uncle Owen, but now I guess maybe Dad is right. Uncle Owen lacks courage and strength in his heart. Otherwise, things would come to this point. Now no one can change his mind. Tommy has no choice. His parents made the decision and they wouldn't listen to me. I feel so bad for him. Things Tommy said made me really sad, but I have no way to help him this time. My parents are smart and strong. They wouldn't make this kind of decision, but in the long term, I'm not sure Dad's health will last with a job like that. The worst part, continuing living here might make us lose purpose and hope. The space is a dangerous place, and other planets aren't really that great either, but there's hope. If I can get in one of the pioneer teams and work 5 years with good achievement, I can take the whole family with me to a new world. I haven't told anyone about my plan. When I get into a pioneer team, I'll talk to them about it. Sorry for that pause. I had to get a drink. Throat was killing me from all this reading. So, back to the diary. So much has happened recently. I feel I should record something, but I don't know where to start. In short words, our family is going to Foreverland too. I still don't think Foreverland is a great place to go, but we have no other choice now if we want to live on. Sometimes I still doubt if we made the right choice. This is a path that no one in our family wanted before. Ilsa is only 9. She's still so little. I had to keep making things sound good and avoid all the possible negatives. We finally persuaded Dad to go too. You have to be alive to have hope, or at least exist in some form. Even we will lose our bodies in the connection to the real world. It doesn't necessarily mean we will never have the chance to return to the real world in some way. Maybe I'm too optimistic, or maybe just like how Mom feels about us. I just can't accept the end yet. But there's no point keeping doubting myself now. We have to keep moving forward. Oh, I think this is supposed to be for the numbered thing. The sizes of the dreams. Oh, wrong box. I'm not sure what we're doing with this one. Hmm. Let's see. I think we're still missing something here. Oh, wrong box. Oh, that's also the wrong box. I've lost the numbered box. Where is it? It's driving me crazy. What is that? These feathers in a bottle. I remember them. This is Gina's souvenir from our first dream experience. These feathers, are they from the birds we shapeshifted into in the first dream experience? Yes, I love the snowflake bottle you have, so I decided I should get a souvenir from our first dream experience too. Compared to snow, I like the part we flew as birds more, so I asked the witch to give me these feathers in a bottle. It's just like yours. They're like a pair. No, they're not. Even the shapes of the bottles aren't the same. They don't have to be exactly the same. I like this bottle shape more. You have 11 feathers in there? Why 11? Is it a random number or does it have some special meaning in it? It's not random. The numbers from 1 to 10 represent a full cycle to me. 1 represents the very beginning, and 10 is the end. If you use the rule on a person's life, normally no one would be able to go beyond 10. With Foreverland, we are now in a new world. We have a new start and a new life. So to me, this new start is 11. I completely understood Gina's point. Our lives in the real world were over, and we will never get them back again. Why do you look sad? We should be happy about new beginnings and new opportunities. We have a whole new life here. Speaking of that, the next dream experience is ocean-themed. You've always wanted to go to the beach. Now not only can we go to beaches, we can go into the deep sea too. Did you talk to the witch about what you want in the dream experience? I did. I felt better thinking about the next dream experience. I was quite excited to go to the beach. Gina's right. We crossed the end point 10 and reached 11. It's a fresh start. I should be happy. Which one is this? That's the empty box. Oh, there it is. So, let's see. I'm trying to watch this on a walkthrough. It's very hard. Because this person keeps getting the combination wrong. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna pause until they get the right combination. Why is this so hard? Okay, they finally got it. 2 needle-shaped like metal pieces. They look like hands for a clock or something similar. Gina, this is hard to say, but I think we should break up. I know we grew up together and we spent a lot of good time together, but we are so different now. After living in Foreverland for such a long time, you still insist on learning and abiding by the rules of the old world. The reality you kept talking about. We just can't agree with each other and we'll only fight more if we stay together. Time is endless here and we don't age. There's no real marriage and no legal responsibilities. It's impossible for us to have children. Can't dream that up. People also don't need to rely on each other. In a world like this, is there really a point to having a monogamous relationship? People don't do it anymore, you know? We can have so much freedom to do what we want. Trust me and let go. We'll live better and happier, freely. Bye, Gina. Tommy. As I was reading the letter, anger filled my chest. I remember, after Gina and Tommy became adults, I didn't really see him much anymore. I can't say I know what kind of person he is now, but when I was a small child, I used to hang out with him quite often too. He was sensitive, a little bit petty, and complained a lot. I never liked him very much, and I always thought Gina could get way better. but they knew each other since they were 4 or 5. Gina really liked him and took care of him, so I figured it was natural they'd end up together. But in the end, he wrote a letter like this and broke up with her just like that? I don't think that's how relationships work, though. Like, you don't take care of the person you're going to end up with. I mean, you should take care of them, but that's not usually... Like, if you're childhood friends, but not like that. In the letter Gina wrote to me that I read earlier, she mentioned there's some situation with Tommy that she needed to deal with. Was it referring to this letter? But what could she do to deal with a breakup? To ask him to change his mind and come back to her? I don't believe Gina would do something like that. I mean, I know she really likes Tommy, but... He's just so not worth it. What exactly happened after that? Did Gina tell me? I can't recall anything. So... Yeah, I'll do the clock puzzle, I think. Okay, we're back to the clock puzzle. Still kind of fumbling blindly through this. Three. Oh yeah, I gotta move these two. This to yellow. Hey, we did it. Read this. Dear Elsa, I'm so sorry. As your older sister, I should be a better example and not make this kind of choice, but I have made up my mind. Since I was a child, I wanted to be a hero in your eyes. Never thought I would write a letter like this to you. I hope I'm not a pathetic loser who's good for nothing in your eyes now. Do you remember the time when we were young? I mean the time before we came to Foreverland. Life was difficult in some ways, but we had hope and expectations for the future. I had dreams. I thought if I studied and trained really hard, I would have the chance to go to the vast space. But no matter what kind of dreams we had, they were all crushed in the end. I couldn't accept it. I wanted to live on, and we came here. We came to Foreverland, where all dreams can come true. We went to countless dream experiences, saw all the beauty that we could not have seen in the real world. We had adventures beyond our imagination. The system always gives us what we want. It's great. But what we get in the dream experiences are never actually ours. Stories are stories, and dream experiences always end. We are something completely separate from everything we experience. Gradually, I feel like I have lost the most important part of me. I lost the will and pleasure to fight, to compete, and to struggle to attain what I want. I thought I could keep studying and hold on to what's important to me, but in the end, as time went by, everything drifted away. I feel empty. When I turned 18, I thought moving out and starting a new phase of life would help and change how I feel. For a while, it did. Independence was great, and new experiences were great. But it didn't last long. In the end, the emptiness still came back. Without purpose and the opportunities to fight for what I want, I have no hope or expectation for the future anymore. I feel like I might have died a while back already. I'm just a ghost now. I know I fully supported the decision to come to Foreverland, and I convinced you too. I wasn't ready for an end back then. Now I look back, I still think I made the right decision. If I never came here and never experienced what I've experienced so far, I would have died with many regrets. Now it's different. I have seen and done everything I wanted to see and do in Foreverland. I have no regrets anymore. I'm ready now. You are still very young. You are not even an adult yet. There is so much that you haven't experienced. Your personality is also quite different from mine. Don't get affected by me. The same place and environment can have completely different meanings for different people. I hope you see it differently and find much more beauty and satisfaction than I do now. This is my end, but I hope yours will be very, very far away in the future. I hope your life here will be long and fulfilling, and you will find all the happiness here. Love you, Gina. So did she kill herself? How can you even do that in this world? The letter slides up from my loosened hands and falls on the ground. Tears come out of my eyes. I read this letter before. I never thought I would read it again. Chapter 5. What's buried? You're lying. That's not possible. Absolutely not. I'm deeply sorry, but this is Gina's decision. The witch brought us the news early in the morning. She told us Gina's final order was executed the night before. Did Gina leave us any letters or notes? Yes, she wrote separately for each of you. How can you ask about that? Don't get fooled by her. This is a lie. It's not possible. Gina would never do something like this. Nora, calm down. How can she calm down? Yeah, calm down. How can I calm down? Our daughter, our baby girl. I'm really sorry. Sorry? You are not sorry. You are run by algorithms and programmed to say what you need to say. You don't actually understand or feel a thing. It's like action music. That day's memory was blurred. What did I say and what did I do? I can't recall much at all. I only remember I was shocked at first and I couldn't believe what the witch was telling us. Just like Mom, I thought this must be wrong. Slowly, as I heard Mom's broken voice and crying, reality settled in and ripped me open. I realized I was just in denial. After a lot of yelling, crying, questioning, comforting, the house eventually became quiet. The witch said Gina didn't get a lot of new things at her new place. A lot of her belongings are duplicates. After her death, the witch consolidated Gina's belongings and merged them back to a room in our house. But she already deleted most of her emails and messages she had before she ordered the self-destruction. Those things didn't really matter that much to me, honestly. I only entered her room once after that, for a short period of time. I read her last letter to me and read a few other letters that were left, including the 2 letters from Tommy and Uncle Owens. I browsed her diary briefly and then I left. I never went in again after that. Gina's room became a place that I feared and hated. I didn't want to see anything in her room anymore. After tremendous sadness, I felt anger. In this world, there's no accident, no illness, no danger. Those tragedies beyond our control don't happen in Foreverland. People who want to stay together can always do so here. I launched Gina because she chose to leave us behind. There was no other reason. She refused to come home and refused to let us visit for over a month, and then all that came was the news and some letter for us. What she said in her last letter could be the complete truth, or there may be another reason. Maybe she got influenced by a lot of other things and people like Tommy, Uncle Owen, and maybe her friends. I wouldn't know. None of those matters, because the ones that she considered least were us. I should have known the moment she left home when she turned an adult. I should have known that we were not important to her anymore. There was only silence at home for a long time after that. It was as everything in the world came to a halt. I stayed in my own room and didn't want to do anything. I vaguely remember that Dad came a few times trying to comfort me or ask me to eat something, but I didn't want to. Nobody actually needed to eat in Foreverland. How long did I sit there? A few days, a week, or even a month? I have no idea. My sense only slowly came back to me when I heard my parents fighting. My hearing in Foreverland can be much better than in the real world. Very soon, I couldn't hear them as their voices got louder. How can you be... you could hear them. How can you be so calm? You have a stone heart. Gina, our child died. How can you be so calm? I know you're sad, but she died a long time ago when she was 14. We all did. You saw our children's bodies pushed out of our house, didn't you? I still can't believe they did that in front of the people. So what are we now? We're not humans to you, are we? That's not what I meant. I just want you to understand that we reached our end back in the day in the real world. We had some extra time here, but even the digital versions of us have time limits. What were you expecting? Did you really think we're going to be immortal here? Immortal? She was only 21. Age was not the important part. Time doesn't really matter that much here anymore. To some degree, it remains still. We are just data. There's no future here. The purpose of coming here is for everyone to find a more acceptable endpoint. Gina couldn't accept her death when she was 14, but she could now. She chose her endpoint. We should respect her decision. Respect her decision? We're here to find a more acceptable endpoint? So you've been waiting for this? Waiting for us to die? All these years you've lived here like you don't mean to be here? Because of you, Owen cut me off too. Why the hell did you come here? I came here for you and our children. Are you really asking me this question now? I don't need you here. Get out. Nora! Stop calling my name and don't touch me. You don't see us as your wife and children anymore. We're just stupid data being simulated by programs and algorithms, and you're just waiting for this to all end. If it's not because of your influence, maybe Gina wouldn't have made this decision. She wouldn't have died. Get out. We don't need you here. Get out, get out, get out of here. Get out! Are you serious? Do you really mean it? Of course I do. Get out. Okay, I'll leave. For a long time, my head was like stuffed with clouds, but at that moment, it suddenly cleared up. I rushed to the door. Dad, please don't go. Mom was just saying hurting things in the heat of the moment. She didn't mean it. She didn't actually mean what she said. Why is it always like this? I'm always the one who chases the door. I didn't even get to see that part. Yeah, it doesn't even show up. Dad gave out a long sigh. Your mom is not that type of person. She knew what she was doing. There's no way she meant what she just said. How could you kick a family member out or walk out of the door like it's nothing? Maybe she didn't mean some of the things she just said, but she really does want me to leave. That part is definitely true. She needs that. Elsa, listen to me. I know you're sad and scared. This is very unfair to you. A lot has happened in a short period of time, but right now, it'll only make things worse if I stay. No, it won't. It's hard for you to understand now, but I believe one day you will. You just need to be strong now. You're 17 already. You are not a child anymore. In this world, actually growing up is much harder. With no responsibilities, no purpose, no pressure. I also don't really know what kind of advice I can give you right now. You have to find your path by yourself. These things are not important. That's not what I'm talking about now. This is not what I want to hear. You don't think it's important because you haven't seen the big picture of your life yet. Take a step back and think about your future. I know you're very sad about what happened to Gina. You two have always been very close. We all love her and we are all sad. But this is Gina's choice. That was the end that she chose. She was satisfied about it, and she didn't leave with regrets. She didn't even talk to her family one last time, so I don't know. Remember the time the two of us drove out and talked about Foreverland? Nothing stays still, Elsa. Sometimes, some changes are heartbreaking, but you have to move on and live with it. You have to decide your own path, your own life. Everyone needs to grow up. You are only one step away from adulthood. You'll be 18 next year. Think about why you came to Foreverland. What you want to pursue most. What do you want from this world, from your life? Once you figure them out, things will get much easier. Your path will be clear. My purpose for coming here has always been clear. You all know. You just don't agree and don't approve. You will see my address when I create it. You can come to me anytime if you want to. If you need help, advice, or you just want to talk and hang out, reach out to me, okay? It's not like I'm not around anymore. Once you become an adult, you can create your own residence and make decisions for yourself if you want. It's all up to you. You just need to find what you truly want and accept what happened. Dad stopped and looked at me, waiting for me to say something, but I couldn't say anything anymore. I didn't want advice or help, and I didn't want my own place. I wanted him to stay. I wanted the way our family once was. But at that moment, I realized it was impossible. Everything was already broken into pieces, and Dad would not stay. No one would stay for me. You are different from me. You all have other important things, and I've never been important. The door closed in front of me, and I felt that everything I wanted and hoped for was gone. Nothing would ever be the same again. I went upstairs to my parents' room. Mom looked like a totally different person. She seemed to have lost all energy and curled up in a corner of the room, holding her head in her arms. I'm sorry. Elsa, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Her eyes were completely hollow. She apologized again and again and again, but she wouldn't even look at me anymore. It was as if she could not do anything else other than say those words. I couldn't stay there, and I returned to my room. The day we entered Foreverland suddenly came to my mind. That day, after the last dinner in the real world, we heard knocking. Mom and Dad asked us to wait in the kitchen. Sitting in front of the dining table, I sat at the most inside corner, and I couldn't see what was happening in the living room, but I heard the robot pushing and rolling something heavy inside. I was shaking. Gina was the first one to go. She smiled at me, patted my shoulder, and went straight to the living room. I wanted to follow her, but Mom stopped me. She asked me to sit and wait while Dad walked over with Gina. It was a long, nerve-wracking wait, and it was quiet in the house. The only sound I could hear was the sound from a machine running. I gripped my own fingers and waited while all kinds of thoughts ran through my mind. When I heard the machine stop and something opened, I couldn't sit anymore. I jumped up and ran to the living room. Oh, so I guess they didn't technically do it in front of her. She ran out. I don't remember much about anything else at that time. I felt like I was about to black out. The only thing I could see was the bed that got pushed out. Gina's body was on the bed with white cloth covered on top of her. Her lifeless arm fell off the edge of the bed. Mom chased me in the back and covered my eyes. Don't look! Elsa, don't look! Mom didn't let go. She covered my eyes and walked me all the way to the scanning chamber. Her hands were ice cold. I didn't even see how the chamber looked like from the outside. When I opened my eyes, I saw Mom's sad smile and Dad standing behind her with his eyes bleak. Then the chamber door closed in front of me. I was shut in that tight space all by myself. I sat there alone, listening to the instructions with tears running down my face. At that time, Foreverland was not in my mind. At that time, all I could think about was the moment Gina's body got pushed out and the look on my parents' faces right before the chamber closed. I knew I was about to die, and I wished someone from our family could be there with me, holding my hand. I wanted to die in someone's arms, not alone in that cold metal box. Even after living in Foreverland for a while, that day, that moment, and those feelings kept coming back to haunt me. They were hard to forget and shake off, but as time went by, slowly, they faded away and got buried into a deep, dark corner in my heart. A corner that I never wanted to see again. At that moment, that memory suddenly came out and became so clear. I realized maybe Dad was right. Gina died on that day already. We all died on that day. The current versions of us are just inferior counterfeits. We are ghosts struggling in a meaningless fake world because we couldn't accept our end. But no one has a real future or purpose. There's nothing but emptiness that lies in front of us. I went to see Mom twice. She moved to a chair in front of the window and sat there quietly without moving a muscle. She seemed unaware that I entered her room. Even when I stood right in front of her, she had no reaction. She looked like a machine that had completely stopped running. I felt she would never speak to me again. I stayed in my own room for I didn't know how long. My chest was hurting the whole time. There was a dull pain there that got worse and worse. Eventually, I just couldn't bear it anymore. It hurts, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts. It shouldn't be like this. I should have turned off all sense of pain in the settings, and yet it still hurts so badly. Witch, I need you to turn off the sense of pain. It's already off. You can't feel any pain from any physical impact. What you are feeling now is likely from the emotional stress, and it doesn't matter what's causing it. You can turn it off, can't you? I don't care about the reasons, and I don't want to listen to the explanations. I just want it to stop. Everything is a simulation here, and everything in my body should be able to be toned and controlled. Turn it off. The simulation of emotional response is very closely tied to your core data, to who you are. Forcefully changing it will cause serious consequences. I don't care. Turn it off. The serious consequences very likely cannot be reversed. I told you I don't care. Turn it off. Okay, it will be done. The pain suddenly disappeared, and there was a strange sense of peace in my chest. I felt my mind clear, and all the sadness, loneliness, pain that I felt before was false. Why was I sad before? There was nothing to be sad about. It was not a big deal. We were all dead and we got a new life. The past was gone and it didn't matter at all. Because I don't need anyone. The day I turned 18, I went to see Mom again. She was still sitting there. She probably didn't ever get up. It looked like she didn't even change her posture. In this world, no one ever needs food, sleep, or anything else to survive. She didn't have to get up. Maybe she even stopped her simulation entirely and entered into some sort of sleep mode. I heard the adults could choose to do something like that here. But none of those things mattered to me. I didn't really care. Nothing in this house mattered to me anymore. I like this picture. I don't think we can actually see it without the background, though. I did try to talk to her, and I left home directly. I created a new residence and started my new life. I kept the way the house looked like before, but I asked the witch to remove the color in any area other than my room. I think this almost black and white look must be how it should be back when we were in the real world, if we didn't have the projections. I also asked her to change the outside environment to a desert. I felt that's how it's supposed to be. I didn't want a second floor and didn't need a family table. I didn't want to see Gina's room or any of the family photos. I only needed my room. I didn't want the nice fake exterior to look anymore. I asked the witch to change it to a box looking without windows. I even asked the witch to remove colors from her clothing and accessories. I also asked her not to have facial expressions anymore. All the colors and expression annoyed me. I set passwords for my diary in the letter holder. It only added minor inconvenience, but it could help prevent me from looking at any of them and reminiscing. It's all meaningless anyway. People came here to enjoy what Foreverland offered and to have fun, so I should do that too. I experienced all kinds of dream experiences. I went to the city areas to have fun, drink, eat, dance, and make friends. When I went outside, I would change my appearance to a much more mature look, and I created a completely different home to host parties. I went on dates with all kinds of men. I did everything I could think about that a young girl would want to do, but everything was meaningless. Even at some point, I could feel some excitement. It passed away really fast. Nothing actually made me feel happy, and I wasn't really interested in anything that I was doing. Nothing was important to me, and I believed I wasn't important to anybody. Everyone was just a passerby in others' lives. I don't think anybody actually cared. I started to hate this fake world and everything here more and more, and what I hate most is the emptiness and falsity in myself. One day, I just couldn't continue like that anymore. I stopped responding to anyone and stopped going outside. I also stopped going to dream experiences. I lived in a small space like a dead soul, and sometimes I slept for days. After a long time, I finally made up my mind. I've lived enough here. It's time to call it an end and destroy all my data. I have written a short letter for my parents. After the destruction is done, you can send a letter out for me. Meanwhile, think what this would do to her mother. Like, that would be terrible. Are you sure? Self-destruction order is the most serious order you can give, and it cannot be reversed. Of course, I know that. I'm sure about it. But I have to explain the rules. Anyone in Foreverland who orders a self-destruction would be put into a special dream experience. In this dream experience, a person's negative or destructive memories and feelings would be temporarily hidden in order to adjust mental states and perspective. We will use this dream experience to decide if there are hidden remaining desires and wishes left, something that one might find worth living for. Wait, what? No, I don't need that. Just execute my order directly. I'm sorry. Unfortunately, this is Foreverland's policy that cannot be changed. We have to carry out the confirmation dream experience in order to prevent impulsive suicide. We hope all residents can have what they truly want while living in Foreverland. How come I have never heard anything like this before? This special dream experience is not public information. It's the only dream experience that would temporarily hide partial memories and make whoever in it forget why and how they are here. We don't want it to get abused. For example, some people might want to order self-destruction in order to experience it and pursue the thrill. We also don't want some people to panic because they learn that we have the ability to hide some memories. Yeah, you claimed our core data included all our memories as a very complicated and highly integrated existence, that it definitely cannot be altered. Turns out it's a lie. It's not a lie. Hiding is not altering. We just put those memory pieces a little deeper, so they become harder to access. Even so, you will feel something is wrong and there are inconsistencies and lost pieces in your memory. You will be able to regain them back with anything that might stimulate and remind you of those hidden memory pieces. Okay, so what else is special about this dream experience? What kind of dream experience am I entering? It has a strong tie to your past. Your memory, your desires, and fears. The algorithm will create a dream experience based on what's close to your heart and yet different from your actual life. To some degree, it would be like an actual dream people would have when they live in the real world. We want to give you a chance to rethink and reflect on your life. Since parts of your memory are missing and you won't remember why you were there, it could be confusing. You don't need to worry. This dream experience is based on your past and your memory, so it will stimulate and help you find your memory pieces back easily. Well, how does it end then? When you regain all your memory or when you show that you still have unfulfilled wishes and purpose in life, the dream experience will end. When it ends, you will have the choice again to confirm your order of self-destruction or cancel it, and it will be executed with confirmation then. But I won't remember why I'm there. What if I don't care about the lost memories and I have no wishes? Will I just get stuck in that dream experience for a long time? No, if after entering the dream experience you still seem tired of life and naturally seek death at an end, we will consider your desire for self-destruction to be true. We will respect your will and execute your order then. And the only possible reason you can stay in this dream experience for a long time is that you want to stay there. If that's the case, we will still leave a clear exit for you. I sigh. So much trouble. If I have to get through it in order to be executed, then so be it. One more dream experience shouldn't make any difference, and losing some memories temporarily isn't a big deal to me. Nothing matters to me anyway. Fine, just put me in. The witch nods and suddenly my mind gets cloudy and starts to fade away. It's a strange feeling, like floating in the endless night sky with nothing around but the stars. Did my outfit change? Then I felt I was falling from somewhere high while something important was fading further and further away from me. But something else important that was lost a long time ago seemed to come back. See, it's a different outfit. I remember everything now. The witch was right. It's not difficult to recover my memory. As I'm thinking, the witch shows up in front of me. Seems like you've regained all your memory pieces. I did. Then this special dream experience is over. It's time for confirmation of the order. Do you still want to execute the self-destruction order? That's a decision. It won't let us do anything. Do we say yes? Do we say no? Say yes. Yes, I confirm the order. I'm tired of everything. I'm sad and feel all the pain, but this dream experience will not actually change anything. Gina will not come back to life. The family is completely broken and will never be the same again. I've experienced enough and there's no purpose, no future ahead of me. I'm already a ghost and a ghost should rest. Order will be executed now. Please rest in peace. Ending 2. Rest in peace. Okay, so we're going to talk about all those reveals, but first we're going to try picking the other option, which is no. No, cancel the order. You will return to your home then. You can adjust the colors of your clothing and accessories back. She nods and the colors come back immediately. Final Chapter A, a new page. The next moment, I'm back in my room. The sun shines brightly outside the window. It's only a view of the desert with fake sunshine, but somehow at this moment it feels precious. I sit down at my desk with a sigh. It's not that I'm suddenly happy with my life here now. Maybe one day in the future I will issue the same self-destruction order again, but I shouldn't make that choice now. There are still things I need to do and people I need to see and talk to. That simple letter scheduled to go to my parents should still be sitting here. I touch the computer screen, it lights up immediately. In front of me is a simple letter with few words and no substance, no proper explanation or goodbye. It feels so cold and uncaring, but at the time when I wrote it, I didn't feel anything wrong with it. It didn't even cross my mind that maybe I should at least go home and see Mom and Dad. Mom, Dad, I've stayed here enough. I'm ready. I think this shouldn't be a big surprise anymore at this point. Dad, you always understand this kind of decision. When Gina made the decision, you understood and respected it, so I think you would feel the same way this time. Mom, I know you asked me not to follow in Gina's footsteps. I tried the past few years. I've made some friends and had a few short romantic relationships. Of course, I had my share of all kinds of dream experiences, but none of these interest me anymore. I've left the past behind and there's nothing I'm expecting in the future. Not that anyone has a real future anyway. Keep living for the sake of living with no purpose and value doesn't seem to be something I can just keep doing. So, well, I think you understand what I'm saying here. I'm just leaving this message to let you know. It will be sent automatically after the successful execution of the self-destruct order. Nothing seemed to have meaning at that time, but now I feel differently. You have one unread mail. After canceling the letter, I'm surprised to see a notification for an unread mail. I haven't received any mails from anyone for a very long time. Uncle Owen! Elsa, we haven't talked for a very long time. I just visited your mom and learned what happened to your family. I'm so sorry to hear about Gina. I want to visit you too, but your new address is hidden from me and to your mom too. Your mom also told me that you'd not come back to visit or write back to her ever since you moved out. I'm in no position to say what you should do. I've made decisions that I'm not proud of, and said things I wish I could take back. I hid away from my family to hide my past. I didn't want to feel bad about myself anymore. If I didn't choose to do so, I would have known and done something to help your mom and your family 7 years ago. I'm really sorry. So like I said, I'm in no position to lecture you, but I still want you to understand how devastated your mom is now. She needs you. What crushed her is not only the pain of losing Gina, but also the tremendous sense of guilt. She blamed your dad, drove him away, and shut down most of her functions for a long time. But the truth is that she couldn't face you two. She blames herself way more than anyone for Gina's death. She stayed at home for years with you two, focused on raising and educating you, and she thinks that Gina's death was the result of her failure as a mother. Because of her failure, your dad lost his daughter and you lost your sister. She didn't know how to face you anymore. No matter why Gina suicided, we both know it couldn't be your mom's fault. I will visit her again in a couple of days, but you and your dad are the ones she wants to see most, especially you. I watched you growing up, and you are a bit like me. Sometimes you lack confidence and would be at a loss without guidance, but you have always been important in your family, and you are always loved. To this day, I will still remember how happy your family was when you were born. You are the only one who can make your family whole again now. Nora is afraid of seeing you, but she also yearns for it deeply. You are a grown-up now, and I think you can understand. Please go home and visit her. I can't get a hold of your dad. The witch says he put himself into hibernation and asked her to only wake him up if you or your mom contacted him. Please reach out to me anytime if you need anything or want to talk. I feel my eyes tear up as I read the letter. It's time to go home and visit Mom. I need to contact Dad and Uncle Owen too. With a simple verbal instruction, I'm back in the yard of my family house instantly. I can't believe I left home for 6 years without return or contact. Blue roses are blooming the way I remember them. The sweet smell and birds chirping sound, along with the warm, bright summer sunshine, bring back all the memories. And then I remembered the shed puzzle, and I turned around and I walked away. The unchanging scenery here makes me want to cry. I miss everything here so much. The house is right there. I should go in and see Mom, but somehow I'm so nervous that I can't move my feet. The door suddenly opens as I'm hesitating here, and a familiar figure walks out. It's Mom. She looks surprisingly well for how depressed she's apparently been. She probably heard some sound and came out. She freezes when she sees me and looks at me in shock. For a moment, neither one of us could move or say anything. Then the tears come out of her eyes and stream down her face. A lump comes to my throat. Before I know, tears blur my sight too. Mom, I'm back. And 3, home. So, neither of these are the true ending. Thank you so much for playing. This is not one of the true ends. If you haven't reached the true end route, something. It cut off way too fast. That's another problem. We can't read it. So, a lot of reveals there. Some of them were not really surprising. Pretty emotional reveals. But... So... My gosh, this is moving so slow. Yeah, I kind of figured Gina was dead. I thought they were all dead. Kind of surprised about that. Still have this clock puzzle thing here. Gotta rearrange all the numbers, though. I don't know how much of the story is the same prior to that. So... it might not actually be a lot of new content. Oh my gosh, where's the X? X1... Y... I don't know why this puzzle is so needlessly complicated. It should be the V. One with V2. No, that's not right. It's the other IV. This one. There we go. So I'm gonna pause while I try to figure out how much of this is new. Be right back. Okay, so we are back on the True End route. After reading Gina's suicide letter, everything is the same up until we get this discussion with the witch, which is, you know, dream experience is over, you want a confirmation, the self-destruct order, and yes results in the same ending, but we're gonna do no. No, cancel the order. You will return to your home then. No, it's not time to go home yet. You lied to me, didn't you? You lied to my family. No, I don't know what you are referring to, but I don't have the ability to lie. That's impossible. You absolutely lied. My sister Gina didn't suicide, did she? I understand that sorting through your past and facing the sad events again is heartbreaking. It's hard to accept it, but it is the truth. Gina ordered a self-destruction. I'm deeply sorry. You have my condolences. Really? Then tell me how her special confirmation dream experience went. Did she get back all her memory, or did it end in a different way? She got back all her memory. Gina's very smart and capable. That's what I thought. Gina's not just smart, but also very curious and strong-willed. She wouldn't just give up when she was in a situation where she didn't know what was going on. And getting back all the memories wasn't even hard for me. It would definitely be easy for her, but then it doesn't make sense. If she got all her memories back, she wouldn't have confirmed the self-destruction order. I know it's hard for you to accept, but not everyone sees the past and their memories the same way. There were many people who still chose to confirm the order after regaining all their memory. Gina made that choice too. That's not possible. She promised me that she wouldn't go to dream experiences based on Kylam's adventure and Finley's sister's journey with me. She promised that she would go when I turned into an adult, just the two of us. Going to space has always been her dream, and Kylan's adventure has its significance to us. I understand it could be a very important promise at one point in her life, but people could gradually change as time goes by. And what's most important to them could change too. That's true, and that's what I thought in the past. We were only kids back in the day. When Gina suicided, she was an adult and had already left home for 3 years. I thought it wasn't the same anymore for her, and she just didn't care about us as much anymore. Now that I have left home for 6 years and I truly didn't care when I asked for self-destruction, but after that confirmation dream experience, after looking back to my past, my life, I feel different. Some things in life just never truly go away. We grew up together. She spent 18 years in our home, loved by everyone. She said she loved us more than Tommy, more than anyone. She said she would protect me and be there for me. If she made the decision to suicide impulsively due to temporary depression or things I didn't know of, it's possible. But it's not possible that she made this decision after this kind of confirmation dream experience. And the worst part was that the last letter Gina wrote me, she didn't write that letter. You forged it. In that letter she said she had done everything she ever wanted to do. That's not true. With the promises between us, to say something like that to me, that's just not Gina. Especially not after the confirmation dream experience. She wouldn't think it's okay to send a letter like that to me by that point. So what exactly happened? What happened to Gina? I can't answer that question. Please look for your answers here. Final chapter B, the White Room. The witch suddenly disappeared, and so did Gina's room. With a flash of white in my sight, I'm currently standing inside a long white corridor. What is this place? It gives me an odd sense of pressure. The witch said I could find the truth about Gina here? How do people make choices? Life sometimes is like a maze. You never know what you will encounter, and after each choice at the splits, or after each turn at the corners. What do those turning points in life bring? What defines us, the past, the present, or the future? Do you have any regrets? Are we going to be able to save Gina? do know we have to do more puzzles. You better appreciate this, Gina, if you're still alive. Look at all this. No description. Doesn't matter. It's locked. Well, let's try our best. I don't see any puzzle solutions for magic arrow puzzle here. That's kind of annoying. I think we're supposed to copy that freaking weird tree thing. Oh my gosh. I hate having to rotate things. I don't know what to do. I'm so annoyed. I'm gonna have to watch that freaking video again. I'm gonna pause while I get to the part with the answers. Okay, we opened up Arrow Box and we got a key, which is probably to that drawer, but let's do this first. Past the one that I want. I reach out to the book inside. There's no lock, but somehow I can't open it. I feel something go into the center part, though. Okay, so we need something to go in. Let's look at this. Here's our key. It's in. Got a metal piece with a palm tree pattern on it. Once upon a time, with a deep breath I open the book. There must be something important in here. Once upon a time, there was an ordinary man with a loving family. His child, however, was gravely ill and no doctor had a cure. In order to save his child, he went to a magical world with his family. In this world, the child can restore his health, and the family can live happily together. But the new world is vastly different from the previous one they used to live in. Most of the rules in the previous world don't apply here. Dreams and desires, on the other hand, could be fulfilled easily. It became harder and harder to teach and instill the value, morale, and sense of responsibility of the previous world to the child. The child couldn't agree with the parents and didn't want to listen. He became rebellious, and he wanted to break every rule the parents set. The relationship deteriorated. One day, the child stole a very important key from his father, and this key could grant access to a very secret place. A place that held the root and core of the world. The child found the place and attained forbidden power from there. Gina, what did you do? The mother who had always paid attention and watched over the child found out about it and tried to stop him. They had a huge fight. The child used the power he attained in the secret space and gravely injured his mother. By the time the father came, it was too late. Seeing what the child had done, the father knew his child was completely out of control. In order to protect the world, protect its peace and integrity, the father had to end his own child's life. Having lost both wife and child, the man was alone, heartbroken, and devastated. He couldn't accept what happened to him, so he used a special magic that could turn back time. He went back to time when the child was still innocent and loving and the family was happy. He found long-lost happiness there. This is the last page in this book. All the other pages are empty. I'm about to put the book down and I suddenly hear the sounds of a door opening. Everything disappears around me and fades into white. The book in my hand is also gone. I feel like I'm floating in the air and soon a white room shows in front of me. It's a big white room with black snow gently falling down. A table and two chairs sit right in the middle of the room. I descend slowly and land on the floor, confused about the situation. No. Ugh. This is really getting on my nerves. So I'm gonna pause while I get back to where I was. I hate that keeps happening. Okay, we're back. Good news, when you reload, the game actually remembers all your puzzle solutions. So I had to, like, click around a bit to make it register that, but I thankfully didn't have to look up the solutions again. So, it's a big white room with black snow gently falling down. A table and 2 chairs sit right in the middle of the room. I descend slowly and land on the floor, confused about the situation. That book I just read, whose story is that? The root and core of the world? The forbidden power? Are they referring to... As I think, a man suddenly appears in front of me. Welcome to my meditation and chatting room. I look at the man in front of me with quite a bit of surprise. I know him. I've seen his photo on the materials containing information about Foreverland. You are the founder of Foreverland? I didn't think I would ever see him in person. To Foreverland, he is almost like a god who created this world. Is what happened to Gina directly related to him? Why? How? That book I just read. Not exactly him. Not exactly? The founder you were referring to was the man Carlos who lived in the real world. I'm only a digitized possibility of him, but you can still call me Carlos. I can't help but frown. I can't say I completely understand what his words entailed. Are you saying that the digitized version is not exactly the same person as the one who lived in the real world? That's also not exactly what I mean. Have a seat, please. So we sit down at the table face to face. I look at the man in front of me. He seems to talk in a way that doesn't really reveal everything. Can I actually get the truth about Gina from him? You come here to ask about your sister Gina. Yes. Are you directly related to this? What happened to her? Why did the witch lie and say she chose self-destruction? Where is she now? I have isolated her from the rest of the world. The resources in Foreverland are still available to her, but she can't contact anyone else anymore. Isolated? Why? I stand up out of shock. Carlos answered my question directly this time, calmly. I knew there must be something unusual that happened to her, but what he just said is still too shocking. How could you? Why? Why? It destroyed our family. Why did you isolate her? What did she do? I felt so angry, and at the same time, I'm also filled with questions. I know none of us would be here without the man in front of me. We would all have been dead for a long time ago, without his invention, but to put someone in isolation and then lie to the family, saying she committed suicide? I'm really sorry, Ilsa. I had to make that choice. Gina is very smart. She discovered things about this world that cannot be known by the public, so I had to isolate her. It was my fault that things came to that point. Again, you have my sincere apology. Did we get to punch him? Let us punch him. Things about this world that can't be known? Are you going to tell me now? What is he talking about? The book I just read came to mind. If it mentioned forbidden power, suddenly I felt a chill down my spine. What could it possibly be? If I know the truth, most likely I will be isolated too, but I have to know. To explain everything, I need to start from the beginning, for my family. The research to create the digital version of humans, to map human brains completely, was actually started by my grandfather. Life was getting harder on Earth since a long time ago, and human lifespan was getting shorter. My grandmother died at a young age when my dad was still little. My dad was afraid to lose his father, my grandpa, so he followed my grandpa's footsteps and studied hard to join his research. But by the time my grandpa passed away, they still didn't succeed. It wasn't until years later, when my parents were at an old age, and I've also worked on it for years, that we finally had our breakthrough. It was a big success and a miracle for us. I remember in the introductions of Foreverland that I read back in the day, it says your father started the research but didn't succeed. You eventually did after he passed away. Yes, you remembered it correctly. We lied about it for a reason. I'm honestly not in the mood to hear his family stories behind Foreverland right now, but I'm guessing they are all somehow tied to what happened to Gina. I have to understand them first, so I decide to listen as he continues. At the beginning, we didn't plan to publish what we created, and certainly didn't plan to commercialize it. It was something that could be very controversial. But we didn't create it for anyone else. We created it for us, for our family, for the ones closest to us to escape death. Foreverland was extremely simple at the beginning, almost bare. There was only the basics here. After my parents got sick and came here one after another, we worked harder to develop it so they could live better here. A sad smile came to his face. It doesn't show in the CG. I was so happy at that time. It was like we cheated death, created a paradise and the bridge in between to connect it to the real world. I chatted with my parents every day and worked with them. Together, we created a simple Foreverland and the prototype out of the witch. In our vision, she would be better than the AIs people already had in the real world at that time, and she would be specialized and tailored to this specific world. Creating her and all her features were very hard, and we worked hard. Without the restraint of a physical body, my dad had more computing power, and he didn't really need rest. He made a huge change in this world. After several years, we had the prototype of the witch. She made this world much more pleasant to live in. For us, everything was going great at that time. But life is always unpredictable. A sudden earthquake and a big fire triggered by the earthquake burned across more than half of the city. My wife and I were out of town. By the time we rushed back, our house was destroyed along with everything in there. I stored hardware for Foreverland there. I stored it in a safe place with lots of protection, but it was not enough against an earthquake and a fire like that. I lost my parents just like that. Forever. You see, I've always been a careful person, and I usually would back up everything regularly and store them at different locations. I had backups of the witch somewhere else, along with everything else we worked on, but my parents, the most important data in the world to me? No, I did not. Why? Because ethics and moral values prevented me from doing so. These were not the earlier failed scans. These successful scans and digitized versions of my parents shortly before their death were like my parents entered the afterlife, entered a paradise we created. They were my parents and they were unique. It was unthinkable for me to duplicate and back up their data somewhere else, to make them replaceable like they were just data. And that view, that way of thinking, led to the result of me losing them forever. That incident struck me hard. Later, in a couple of years, my son was born. But unfortunately, he had genetic flaws, deadly ones. Doctors told us those were new mutations. Is it that Tommy kid? There was nothing they could do. In order to let him live on, we decided that our family, the three of us, would go into Foreverland together. I thought long and hard about the whole situation and about what happened to my parents. I decided on two things. First, we need a way to guarantee that the hardware in the real world will be protected and maintained in great condition, and it would be kept running. For this purpose, I finally decided to publish what we invented. After all, someone who is technically dead in the real world would have limited control on things here. This world would only be well protected and safe for a long time if more people got in here and more people had personal interest in it. I needed to partner and cooperate with a big company that operates in the real world. The idea of scanning and uploading people's minds has always been something controversial. If the public knew that the real founder of Foreverland already died in Foreverland, it would bring a lot of doubt and people would view it in a negative light. Sometimes people would dig into details, and a title in the news or some rumors would be enough to ruin a new business or tech. Because of those concerns, the company that runs everything in the real world persuaded me to hide the truth about my dad. I agreed eventually. The partnership was formed. The company handles all operations in the real world using our family's tech and standards. All money, profits go to them, of course, but I have full control inside Foreverland. The population in this world started to grow ever since. Hardware Forever is heavily protected in a secure location with emergency backup plans to relocate whenever necessary. The hardware got more and more powerful, and the witch evolved too. Okay, but how are those things related to what happened to Gina? Are you saying that Gina found out about the real founder of Foreverland? No, of course not. That's not important anymore. I mentioned earlier that what happened to my parents led to two important decisions, and the second one was one that's directly related to Gina. The second decision was to put away normal people's ethical views on this matter, and back up all data, including human data. Us. I vaguely had this fear when he talked about his parents, but now that he clearly said it, I still feel my head spinning. What does this mean? There are many older copies of me sleeping somewhere in this world? I can be replaced easily? It's not an easy decision, and the outcome can be hard to predict, but I believe it's the right decision. Even if hardware should all be in good condition, it's not guaranteed that nothing will go wrong. All data is at some level of risk due to a lot of reasons. We have means to protect important data. Why shouldn't we? Giving up because of narrow ethical views is unwise. The first ones who got backup data were my wife, my child, and me. In a digital world, if a person's data is not activated and being stimulated, it's really just data. It wouldn't feel or know anything, unless something really bad happens. Otherwise, we will not activate any backup data. But I can't make this public knowledge. Some people might be able to accept it, but many more people wouldn't. It will very likely cause panic and have a very negative impact on residents in this world. So backing up has always been done in secret. The problem is, when should I activate and use backup data? And when should I delete the unnecessary versions? Resources are limited, after all. Delete. I feel my head spinning more, and I look at my own hands with blurry sight, feeling everything is surreal. I know I'm just a set of data. I know I'm a duplicate of the actual Ilsa who once had flesh and bones in the real world. And yet, I'm still stupid enough to think that the duplication was a one-time deal. I thought I'm still unique. I thought I'm the digitized Ilsa. I suddenly recall my conversation with Dad. He said maybe one day even death would be a luxury that's out of reach. I didn't understand what he meant at that time. That book, the one I just read in the long hallway, is that your story? Magic that could turn back time is referring to activating old backup versions of your wife and child? Yes. What about forbidden power? Is that the power to make changes to the system and data in this world? Yes, you are very smart. So are you saying that your child damaged someone's data and you activated a backup version and Gina found out about it? No, the incident with my child happened many years ago. He only hurt my wife, but that incident was the beginning of me activating backup data. These days I try my best to prevent similar incidents, but unfortunately my son's not the only one who's interested in this power. There are many who are not satisfied with this world and want to gain more control. Some are unhappy with this world and want to make changes. Others want to gain power over other people, make them suffer, change them, or even destroy their data. If the wrong people are able to make changes to this world and people's data directly, it means everything and everyone could be in danger. It's hard to attempt something like this without being noticed by the system, the witch, but it's not completely impossible yet. An organization with a secret purpose to gather more people's power to gain access to the core of the system was formed, and Gina's boyfriend Tommy joined it shortly before we found out about everything. People in the organization were harmful to this world. Tommy was very new there, and we believe he was lured in, but still, I cannot let him continue to have the knowledge and memory about this organization. We had to destroy his newest data and activate a slightly older version instead. Well, that's pretty unethical. To activate an older version without anyone noticing, there are 2 conditions. 1, we need earlier data from a time point that he or she didn't get into contact with other people since, at least people they were close to and will meet again soon enough. Otherwise, the missing chunk of memory will stir suspicion. After activating an older version of someone, we need to use dream experiences to stretch and change his sense of time to make up for a chunk that someone's lost. Tommy moved out and lived by himself after becoming an adult. During the short period of time between when he got to know the organization and the time we found out about it, the only person outside of the organization that he had contact with was your sister. They had a few fights during that time, but he didn't tell Gina anything about the organization. They also didn't really have mutual good friends. So judging from the information, we believe this. As long as Gina and Tommy don't talk to each other anymore, we can activate Tommy's backup data. There are people who really care about Tommy, and it would bring much less damage if he doesn't have to suicide. Tommy and Gina had several fights right before the incident, so the system forged 2 breakup letters according to them. One from Tommy to Gina, and one from Gina to Tommy. That letter was fake too, the one from Tommy to Gina. At the same time, we deleted their contact information from each other's record and contact list. When they see each other in a public area, the appearance, voice, name called would all be different. Your family wouldn't be able to recognize their family if you pass by each other in public areas. You probably know that this is a function that every resident can use if they want to. If you don't want to see someone anymore, you can set it this way. With these measures in place, the chance of things going wrong is very low. Tommy totally believed the letter he received, but Gina knew that the letter was not from Tommy the moment she read it. She didn't say anything on the spot. She tried to contact Tommy and his family immediately and couldn't reach any of them. But she still found him along with his family, judging from their behavior and habits. Even the looks, voices, and names are all different. She didn't try to talk to him. Instead, she observed him for a while and then went home to talk to the witch. Although the witch tried her best to deny it, Gina was very sure about her conclusion that Tommy lost a big chunk of memory or was replaced by an older version of him, so she came to me. I'm really sorry that things came to this point. Your sister Gina was very active socially. She didn't get into direct contact with anyone at the time, but she exchanged multiple mails with several people, including you and your parents. We wanted to activate a backup version of her, but there was just no good data that can be activated without anyone noticing. No, I keep shaking my head. This is too hard to swallow. Everything happened because of your secrets, your mistakes, and your misjudgment. And in the end, Gina and our family became the ones being punished. This is so unfair. If you didn't fake letters and cover the truth, how could things come to this point? How can you just do this to my family to cover your own problems? You are absolutely right. Gina did nothing wrong. It was our fault. But I had no other choice. The system makes the right judgments most of the time, but it's not perfect. It's not always right, and I make mistakes too. The future is unpredictable even in this world. If I knew what would happen later, I would have chosen to fake Tommy's suicide instead of Gina. I want to bring less harm and make more people happy for as long as possible, but it doesn't always work exactly the way we predict. So that's it, just like that. What about us, our family's happiness, that book? It mentioned you used the magic of reversing time and went back to the time when the child was still innocent. That must be really old data. Are you saying that your child didn't get into contact with anyone for that long? No, my wife's backup data that got activated was quite new, only a day before she got severely damaged by my child. I only activated a very old version of my child. My wife knew everything from the beginning before we started backing up our data, and I trust her. She will never tell anyone. As for our child, he is dead in public knowledge. After we activated his data from a long time ago, he was put in isolation and monitored closely. He can only get into contact with my wife and I. We were the first ones who came to Foreverland. As long as we don't tell him anyone else came here, he wouldn't know he is in isolation. Of course, other resources in Foreverland are all available to him. So how is he now? Is he happy now? Is he actually on the right path living in isolation? Even in a world that supposedly can grant most wishes, forever happiness doesn't really exist. As a father, I have been a failure so far. At least this version of me. I don't know about the other versions. Maybe they are doing better than me. Who knows? We rarely talk to each other, and not asking about private lives is one of our mutual ground rules. You have multiple copies of you activated at the same time? Carlos gives a gentle nod. Like I said at the beginning, I'm only a possibility of Carlos. When this world was first created, its purpose was very simple, but now evolved into something much bigger and significantly different. I have to take responsibility. It's not very effective to manage such a huge system, huge amount of data, and all the residents with just one copy of Carlos. This world was divided into many districts a long time ago, and of course the division took people's social circles into account, and everyone would have their family and friends circle in the same district. Now each one of us is only taking care of one district. Communication and data exchange between districts are rare and always under strict and thorough review. Sorry, I had to go get another drink. Ugh. So we are way over time, but we're gonna keep going because I think we're near the end. This way, if something goes seriously wrong in one district, it wouldn't impact the others. This world was originally created to be a place for our senior family members to live when their bodies fail, and they are not ready for an end. It was meant to be a peaceful land for them to enjoy retirement, has nice dreams, and talk to their children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren when they want to. It has a lot of limitations. Now it becomes home to a large population. For some people, especially children, this is probably not the best place to grow up. Maybe someone else can make it better and make it more suitable for more people, but the risks involved are too big. If I pick the wrong people, everything could turn into a nightmare. Maybe one day, when the system evolves more and has the ability to completely understand someone's data, to know their true personality and predict their possibilities, things would be different. Then we'd have a whole nother set of problems. Otherwise, I can't take that step. You've talked a lot, Ailsa. I'm really sorry about what happened. I can't say what I did was correct, but I could only use mine and the system's best judgment. Your best judgment. So everybody's life here is up to you to decide. Again, I'm sorry. I think you understand that you won't be able to go back home, go back to the world you were in. You will be isolated too, but I can offer you something else. You can still have the life you've always wanted with your family. You can go back in time and start over, just like I did with my child. This doesn't seem like that's going great for him. I'm gonna save. In this case, this is a choice moment. But if Punch Doctor is an option, I'm taking it. I lift my head and look at him in shock. For a moment, I couldn't say anything. You were suggesting activating my family's backup data? But then they would be isolated too if I do that. How is that different from just moving our whole family to an isolated place together? Unless absolutely necessary, we won't do anything to the newest human data being simulated in this world. They are special and each person has their social circle, which means a big impact to a lot of people. But using backup data in an isolated environment is different. Their data would be copied and before moved over and activated. If anything goes wrong, we can also stop the simulation without other consequences. There's no large-scale impact. How can you put it this way? Backup data once activated are just people to activate and stop them at will. It's hard to accept from that angle, but from my perspective, I can't view backup data the same way anymore. Ailsa, this is all I can offer. This offer is all I can do to compensate you a little. Of course, it's up to you if you want to take it or not. I look at my hands again. Chaotic thoughts and my whole life flashes by in my head. How did I get here? What choice should I make? So I paused for a minute to check something, and apparently these are all true ends. Now, my true end would basically be saying my sister Gina. Because I don't like the idea of just doing the backup data reset thing. And this sounds like suicide, so we'll pick this option first. No, I don't want to do this. I want it to end. No, I don't want to do it. I can't make that choice. It took me a while to finally make up my mind. If you activate their backup data, they are no different from my family. And I can use them for my own satisfaction. I can't just bring them to an isolated world like that. It's just wrong. Plus, no matter what I choose, you will activate my backup data anyway. There will be another Ailsa to replace me in this world, am I right? Yes, you are very important to your parents and you have perfect backup data. You haven't got into contact with anyone for over 1 year. It's not possible to predict the future, but the witch will try all she can to guide the earlier version of you to a different and hopefully better path far away from destruction. So I'm not needed anymore. I can be easily replaced. What's the point of me keeping struggling in an isolated world and keep having dreams to satisfy myself? There's no point. I, this version of Ailsa, can end here. Carlos remains silent and gently nods. He points to the side, and suddenly a giant screen shows up not far from me. I stand up and walk over. On the screen I see myself, another me. She gets up in the morning sunlight and looks lifeless. She looks outside the window and stares into the desert with blank eyes. The witch shows up and they are talking about something. This scene seems surreal to me. I can't sort through the feelings in my chest now. They are tangled into a knot. I stare at her for a while, and by the time I turn around, the room I was in disappeared already, along with the table and chairs. Instead, there was a long white tunnel with soft white light at the other end. Ailsa, do you regret coming to Foreverland? Another choice? I wasn't prepared for this. I must say yes. Let me ask you something first. If I asked you to destroy all data of Ailsa, all the backup versions, would you agree? No, I'm sorry to say this, but you are one possibility of Ailsa. I can't let you make decisions for others, for all possibilities. That's what I thought. One more question. If I choose to be isolated or activate my family's backup data like you suggested, What will you do when the next Ailsa you activate has the same doubt about Gina's death and ends up here? What about the one after her, and the one after that one? Will you give them the same options? You already know the answer. I can't make unlimited copies of similar simulations. I can't help but laugh hysterically. My voice doesn't sound like mine anymore. What am I? What are the other versions of Ailsa? This is not the paradise I thought I was going to. This is not what I signed up for. Yes, I regret it. If I never came here, if we accepted our deaths in the real world, none of these things would happen. We wouldn't come to this point because of your lies and secrets. We would have come to a real end and stayed an intact family. I would have stayed a unique real person in the real world up until the end. I would not be duplicated, replaced, or manipulated. Now I don't know what I am. I don't know how many of me there will be and what will happen to them. I don't know if I can even be considered actually a living being. The past 7 years have been like a nightmare. How can I believe that the next me, or the one after her who gets activated, would be eventually happy? How can I believe that they won't repeat the same misery or go down a worse path under your trial and error guidance? When will it end? Ted was right. There's no meaning and no purpose in this. In the end, even real death is out of reach. I didn't understand him at the time. You said you want more people to live a long, happy life, but that's not true. What you really want is longer data simulation and more possibilities. It has nothing to do with happiness. Those who go to misery, those who got stopped and deleted, you don't really care about them. Who can really define the meaning of human lives and what's living? Even in the real world, with each unique individual, who can define the meaning or significance of one's life through the short journey from birth to death? In the end, only ideology, theories, and achievements stay. Foreverland would keep all those, everything in one's mind, and the various possibilities a person would have. People wish to remain in some shape or form, after all. Other than leaving behind great works and achievements, in the old days when humans could not fight death, they had children. Their children might continue their path and walk further to new opportunities and possibilities. Hopefully a better future. No child will be born in this world anymore, but if another version of yourself goes further beyond to new possibilities, wouldn't that be considered happiness too? How is it not better than destruction and disappearing into the void? That should be up to each person to decide. Oh, my computer tower just went crazy and started making a noise. I hope that's not picking up on the microphone because it sounds terrible. That should be up to each person to decide. It shouldn't be up to you. If your decision really is best for everyone, then why do you need to hide it and make it a secret? Lies and secrets bring more lies and prices to pay. There's no end. What you are doing is wrong. One day you will just bring more and more pain and suffering to people. I'm sorry you feel this way. I turn around. I don't want to look at him anymore. There's no point in continuing. He will not change and there's nothing I can do. I just hope the other me that just got activated will not come to this white room. I'll walk into the tunnel towards the soft white light at the other end. True end 2. Regrets. So we're gonna pick the same option, but we're gonna pick the opposite choice and see if there's any difference. Do you regret it? I'll say no. No, I don't regret it. After much thought, I come to the conclusion. This is not what I signed up for. When we decided to come to Foreverland, I never thought I would get to this point. Because of your secret, Gina got isolated, our family fell apart, and the past 7 years were like a nightmare. I have my resentment for sure. But we had some great years too before that. I've done and experienced things that I would never have the chance or impossible to do in the real world. Being outside, going to different eras in history, looking at a clear night sky with stars, and going to mountains, oceans, forests, or even fantasy worlds are all easy here. Our family had interesting adventures together. We shared our time and experiences in stories and other settings. We even transformed into different types of animals. The time that I spent with my parents and Gina were precious to me. I had lots of fun and I was happier than ever. If I never came here, those years would have never existed. This is the end for me, but she might go on a different path. I point to the screen as I speak. Maybe she will finally go visit Mom and Dad. Maybe one day, even with a broken family, they'll be able to find happiness again. I just hope that she will be stronger than me and knows what's most important. I don't know, but I don't regret it. Thank you, Ailsa. I wipe the tears on my face. Without further words, I walk into the tunnel toward the soft light. True end 1, another me. So this time, yes, let me start over with my family. If I choose to start over, will the witch tell them about the truth, the reason why they are isolated in a world with no one else? That's up to you. Of course, if you don't tell them, they might try everything they can to figure out the situation and escape. They might also be able to tell you that you know something from your actions and reactions. The future is unpredictable, but you have many chances to restart if you want. Just like what you did with your child? Yes. Okay, let me go back in time and start over. This might be the wrong, selfish choice, but it's like a demon's temptation and I just can't reject it. I don't know how they will react to the isolated environment. I also don't know if I should tell them the truth or pretend to know nothing and pretend I'm only a victim just like them. I mean, if they're messing up with the backup data, wouldn't it not even be her? I can pretend I'm a victim just like them. I don't know if one day I would potentially use the power of reversing time again and again, just like what Carlos did. If I get there, what kind of person will I become? And how will I see my family at that point? I don't know. This must be wrong. Maybe one day I will regret everything even more, and this decision will only bring me more pain. But I can't say no to it. I want to start over with my family no matter what. Maybe I just wasted all these years and I didn't actually grow up. Maybe I'm still a child deep down. I want to see their smiles, feel their love and warmth, and live the life I once had. Even if it's short-lived, it's wrong. I have to. What time do you want to go back to? The very beginning, the day we entered Foreverland. Okay, good luck, Elsa. With his words, a white tunnel shows up and there's a door at the other end of the tunnel. Carlos gives me a gesture, so I stand up and walk into the tunnel. My heart is pounding hard and I feel my legs slightly shaking. I haven't felt this much for over 6 years. Everything was meaningless and hollow before, but now things will be different. I try to steady my steps and move forward. As I walk, my view angle gradually gets lower. I soon realize it's because my body is transforming back to when I was a child. So are they killing, like, my loved ones in the real world or what? Or not the real world, but, you know, the other non-isolated world. I stop at the door and look back. Carlos is still standing at the other end and he gives me a gentle nod. I take a deep breath and pull the door open. The moment I open the door, it disappears along with the tunnel. I'm now standing in our home living room. Mom, Dad, and Gina are all here. Wow, it's exactly the same with our home. Look at those small scratches and wear. Even those are the same as before. This is amazing. Yes, seems like everything went smoothly like we expected. Let's eat something tasty and celebrate. That sounds great. Do you think our sense of taste would be the same as when we were in the real world? Wait, what are those? Are those cherries? I've only seen cherries in old movies and documentaries. Gina picks up a cherry and throws it into her mouth. Wow, it's really sweet. Mom, Dad, Elsa, come and try the cherries. Really tasty. Mom tries one first and seems just as surprised as Gina. Dad also walks over and puts one in his mouth, but I can't move my steps. Seeing everything in front of me makes me dizzy. I really came back to this day, the day we came to Foreverland. Elsa, are you okay? Why are you crying? I'm crying? I wipe my face with my hands, feeling a sense of numbness in my body. As I stand there feeling dizzy and couldn't pronounce a word, Gina comes over and hugs me gently. What happened? Are you too excited that tears came out? I managed to shake my head. No, it's nothing. I'm fine. My voice sounds broken. Gina pressed her face against my head gently with a smile. Elsa, everything is okay. We're all here now, just like expected. There's nothing to worry about anymore. Mom comes over too with a smile on her face and pulls both of us into her arms. Even Dad comes over, puts his hand on my head and strokes gently. Gina's right. Elsa, I know it was a stressful and scary experience. The past half of a year has been difficult, but we also took an important step and we are here now together. This is the new beginning. Everything will be great. Yeah, I'm surrounded by the people I love most. Their voice, their warmth, and their smiles are all so precious to me. I feel I'm completely lost in this moment. Yes, this is a new beginning. Even if it's the wrong beginning, I will not regret my decision. True and 4, the magic to reverse time. So one ending left. I gotta say, so far I feel like the happiest ending has been the one where we don't learn what happened to Gina and just go back home. So, Gina. My sister Gina. She sat here with you before you isolated her, right? She knows what I know now. Yes. Did she choose to activate backup data of our family? No. Then there's no need to isolate us separately, right? Can I go to where Gina is now? We can be isolated from the rest of the world together. Gina has been isolated alone for 7 years. How did she spend those 7 years? How is she now? Did she blame herself and worry about us? I need to see her. Carlos shows a moment of hesitation, then nods. Yes, that's a good choice too. As he speaks, a white tunnel shows up with a door at the end. He gives me a gesture, so I stand up and walk towards there. I feel my heart pumping fast. I can't tell if I'm excited or nervous. My life in the next few years suddenly seems like a bad dream, and it's all in the past now. I thought Gina was dead. I thought she chose to leave us behind. I thought I would never be able to see her again. None of those was true, and now? The door is right in front of me now. I look back, and Carlos is still standing there at the other end. He gives a gentle nod as if he is saying good luck. I take a deep breath and pull the door open. The moment the door opens, it disappears along with the tunnel. I'm standing in a vast grass field surrounded by mountains. It's beautiful here. Setting sun colors everything with golden orange color. There's a house not too far away and a spaceship parked next to it. That spaceship looks like the one from Kylan's Adventure. I stand there, unable to move. I feel my throat tightening up and my eyes about to water. I feel I need to calm down a little before I go visit that house, but then I see a familiar figure not too far from it. She sees me and freezes for a moment, then she jumps up, waving both of her arms in the air while running towards me. I couldn't help crying, and I run towards her. Elsa! Gina! Gina! I throw myself into her arms. I laugh and cry at the same time. I feel sad, but also excited. I just got myself into isolation, and yet I feel happier than at any time in the last 7 years. Gina smiles at me, but soon gives out a sigh. Elsa, I'm so sorry I screwed up. Now even you are here. No, that was not your fault, and I don't care about the isolation. It's no surprise that Gina would blame herself, but that was not her fault. I also didn't have contact with anyone else for a long time before I talked with Carlos. I have great backup data. I'm sure Carlos will activate an older version of me, so Mom and Dad... Speaking of Mom and Dad makes my eyes tear up more, and words choke in my throat. Gina tightens her arm and gives me gentle strokes on my hair. For a moment, both of us remain silent. These years I lived here. I occasionally wish someone in the family would find me, but most of the time I really wish no one would end up here. But you are here now, after all. Let's go home. The house looks different from the outside, but inside is actually the same with our family house. Let's sit down and you can tell me what happened these past 7 years. Okay. It's just you and me here now, but there are still a lot of fun things to do. Remember the adventures we talked about? We can go on them now. Not just those, I have a lot of other interesting plans. I nod again and again as Gina speaks. When I came to Foreverland, I never thought I would come to this point. We lost a lot, and this is not the paradise that I had hoped for. But in this small, isolated world, Gina is here, so I think I can still continue and move forward. True End 3, Sisters. You have unlocked the special chapter. You can find the special chapter in extra endings. Do you want to enter the special chapter now? We're going to be here for 20 years. This is going to be like a 2-hour part. Okay, we're Gina now. After suddenly receiving an obviously fake breakup letter, I felt my heart sinking. Not only this showed me something bad likely happened to Tommy, it also showed me the dark side of this world. Our suspicions and worries back in the day might be real, and the tip of the iceberg was lying down in front of me. Tommy and his family's contact info all disappeared from my contact list. The witch told me this is normal. Anyone can set it this way to someone they don't want to see anymore. I knew she was lying. They were not the ones who said it. I couldn't turn a blind eye to the situation. I found Tommy in the city restaurant with his parents. He definitely at least lost some memory. I hesitated for a while, but eventually decided to ask the witch about it. I didn't know what would happen, but I believed most likely what happened to Tommy would happen to me too. I might get some of my memory erased, or I might get replaced by an earlier version. The system should have ways to cover things up, and I had been careful. I didn't go home or hang out with people after reading Tommy's letter, so it should be fine. No one would know, and Gina would keep living on. Even if it would not necessarily be me, the current version of me. And I needed to know the truth. I wanted to know what happened and what's hiding in the shadows where we couldn't see. Otherwise, I could never just forget about it and live my life like before. After pressing the witch really hard, out of surprise, I met the founder of Foreverland in a white room. We sat down and he explained to me what happened to Tommy and how the human data backup started. Data backup didn't surprise me, but the organization Tommy was involved in and the history of Foreverland did give me some surprises. After Carlos finished explaining, he asked me questions too. Gina, can you tell me how you found the letter from Tommy was fake? And how did you locate him and find out that he lost memory? I sigh. Carlos just told me a lot of things and I need to ask him more. There's no reason I should hold back on how I found out the problems. Tommy likes to complain. He has been that way since he was a kid, but what he says a lot of times is not what he actually means. The more he cares, the bigger chance that he would say things he doesn't mean at all. The system, however, took what he said for real. He was in a bad mood, had several fights with me, and was doing something secretly all because he just found out his mom is having an affair. He hadn't talked to his parents or gone home since then before I suddenly received that letter from him. That's probably also the reason he got involved in this kind of organization. He once said monogamous relationships are meaningless, which he didn't actually believe in, and it was a comment about his mom's situation. But later a similar message was used in the letter. The fabrication was just too obvious. Even without this detail, I can tell Tommy wouldn't write a letter like that. That's just not him. As for finding him, both Tommy and his mom have some fixable habits that they're easy to identify. And if he didn't lose his memory and forget about the affair, he wouldn't be able to sit there with his parents like that. Tommy's really bad at hiding emotions and thoughts. He can't really pretend things are fine when they're not. When I saw him, he seemed upset and in a very low mood. But he was not upset about his parents. It might be because of the fake letter from me. His parents were comforting him, and they look as nice a family as before. It's hard to imagine how he would feel if he finds out about his mom's affair soon again. It's honestly worrying. Seems like the system's ability to analyze human emotion and behavior is still quite lacking. The organization you just talked about, did everyone else suicide under your arrangement? Not everyone else. We activated earlier versions for the ones who were not very dangerous and had good usable backup data. The ones who didn't? Did you destroy all their data? They are gone? No. I don't do that to anybody, even if the newer version of someone's data is destroyed, and I don't plan to activate their data again. I still keep their earlier data. But why? If you never plan to activate them, why keep their earlier versions? Do you think that they will have other possible purposes? Or you think one day they might get activated again under certain circumstances? Nobody knows about the future, about this world, or the bigger one outside. Maybe we'll all go to our inevitable doom and disappear from this universe. Maybe one day they might get activated under certain circumstances. Or maybe their data will be read and understood by someone. You never know. Why do people record history, write down their life story, and pass down traditions? I think I share the same type of sentiment. I don't know what kind of answer I was expecting. Other possibilities for human data is something that I hope for, but at the same time, I also fear it. Ugh, keeps happening. Should probably save, just in case. I don't think we'd get any choices for this, but... I hope Foreverland is not the endpoint for us, and that one day we can find a path to go further, even back to reality, but at the same time, I know there might also be other possibilities that... I lean back on the chair and smile at Carlos. I'm guessing I won't be able to go back anyway, and you've explained quite a few things to me. How about you tell me a couple more things? The system here can monitor and record everything we do, everything we say. In fact, you probably have been doing it. That's how you found out about the organization, right? Is that data used anywhere else for any other purpose? Do we actually have privacy here? The system monitors behavior for analyzing to ensure everything is fine, but unless there's something concerning that I need to check out, nothing is stored anywhere other than in everyone's own memory. But your memory works just like a real human. Things in memory would fade and become blurry as time goes by. Alright, second question. You said the operation included scanning people and creating their digital data were all handled by a company in the real world. How did this whole thing work? When a person got scanned, was there really just one unique copy uploaded to this world? Carlos frowned a bit. He seemed a little surprised by the question. In theory, yes. The data would be encrypted at scanning and decrypted once it enters Foreverland. If the company didn't break our agreement and didn't crack our encryption to make big changes to the scanning tech, then there should be only one copy uploaded to this one world. But it's been many years, and I can't say for sure that I know what was happening in the real world this whole time. What's the chance that they can crack the encryption and decryption process? I don't have an answer for that. I can't help but sigh. I hope there's something like more to this chapter. I want a more satisfying ending. What about the possibility that the whole Foreverland gets duplicates? That's of course possible to do, but if the whole world is duplicated, Carlos' data is in there too, and has the full control of the world. Just like here, he would do whatever he could to protect the world, as I would. But would it be easier to break in, destroy parts of the world, extract data, and gain control from the outside this world? I mean, if someone could duplicate this world, they can experiment as many times as they want. It definitely wouldn't be easy, but you are right. It's more difficult to deal with ongoing threats from outside than inside. What you have to worry about, I can't give you an answer. I wouldn't know. I couldn't help but remain silent for a while. I was expecting something more concrete when I came here, an answer to my years of worry. But in the end, what I get is still unknown possibilities. After Uncle Owen came here, I heard Mom and Dad mentioning the risks involved. I was a kid back in the day, so of course they wouldn't tell me, but I guessed some. Later, before we came, I finally persuaded Mom to talk to me about it because I claimed I needed to know to persuade Dad to go with us. Scanning and digitizing humans was undoubtedly a great invention. The greatest minds will be able to be preserved due to this technology. They can pass the limits of the human body and exist for a very long time, possibly making great contributions to the human race. In a world where our race's future looks so bleak, it's undoubtedly important. And if some powerful people want to live in a virtual world to achieve eternal life, they wouldn't want to be in a world built and controlled by another person. So Mom and Dad believed no matter the will of the founder and developer of Foreverland, this technology would not be used in only one virtual world for people's own satisfaction. Someone would crack it and it would be used in as many areas as necessary. There would be other virtual worlds and other ways of using this technology and human data in general, in secret. This might sound like a pessimistic opinion and a baseless guess, but the history of the past 50 to 60 years makes their guess very convincing. A lot of frontier technologies were used in fields and situations that couldn't be known by the public. Some technologies were developed and experimented in ways that the general public would definitely not accept. A lot of shocking scandals came out through the years, and the ones revealed were probably only at the tip of the iceberg. Under the tremendous stress of the survival of our race, morals and bottom lines blurred and became flexible for many people. Truths were often buried and hidden away from the public. So Mom and Dad had their reasons to worry. When a person becomes data, he or she probably wouldn't be able to have control over the fate of this data. Duplication, editing, being put in different virtual environments to experiment, simulate, and test limits are all possible. Maybe human data would even be used as parts and integrated with AI to create better AI that can break through the current bottlenecks. Or maybe multiple human data would be combined into one to fulfill a certain job. Who knows? In the digital world, everything could be done without much of a beep. One wouldn't know at what time he or she got duplicated, and the other copy got put into a different world or environment. Mom told me that she believed that famous people and the ones who achieve great things are at higher risk. They would have a much higher chance of their data being duplicated, experimented on, and used for different purposes. Ordinary people like us have way less risk. Our chance of being safe is pretty good. I completely agree with her, but maybe that's just because I want to believe so. Maybe Dad is the one who's right. No one is safe the moment you get scanned and digitized. All these years while enjoying my life here, at the back of my mind, I couldn't help but wonder what's hidden in the shadows where I couldn't see. I couldn't help but imagine there were so many worlds and so many versions of us scattered in the universe. I insisted on coming to Foreverland back in the day, and I tried my best to persuade Dad and Elsa to come too. Did I take my family to a new future of hope, or did I drag them into an unknown abyss? In the end, I couldn't get an answer even from Carlos, but I guess this is better than the worst answer. I can't say the way Carlos manages his world is right or wrong. I can't really agree with some of the things he does, but he at least has a good will towards this world and his own principles. I'm guessing you are about to dispose of me. Thank you for talking to me and explaining so many things before that. Do you plan to activate my backup data from just before reading the letter, or even earlier? Gina, I'm sorry, you don't have the suitable backup data to activate. What? I feel my heart almost stop as he said that. How's that possible? I didn't meet with anyone I'm familiar with after reading Tommy's letter. I didn't go home on purpose. Tommy, on the other hand, went out and met with people face to face. I stopped right there as I just realized something important. When I made the decision to ask the witch about the situation, I used Tommy as a reference to assess my risk. I was careful, and I had way less contact with people in my life than Tommy, so I assumed what happened to him should happen to me too. But the method I used was problematic to begin with. I didn't have the whole picture. I didn't know the exact methods they could use and the restrictions, and I didn't know anything about the organization at that time. That was a terrible mistake. The people that Tommy met up with during that time were all from this organization? Yes, and it's true that you didn't get into any face-to-face contact with your family, but even just messages and mails sent to you by you are communications that we can't get past. If we activate your backup data from before your communication with them, things will not match up when you see them again. Couldn't they just feign that she had a car accident and suffered memory loss or something? Make up an excuse. I really screwed up. This is bad. What should I do now? If I suddenly suicide, Tommy at least just thinks I broke up with him. He wouldn't know, but my parents, Ilsa. I'm really sorry. Our limitations and mistakes led you here. If we knew fabricating a breakup letter wouldn't work for you, would have made a different choice. A different choice means having Tommy suicide instead of me. That's not a result I want. I was so stupid. If the system couldn't convince me with a letter that Tommy never wants to see me again, then even if I had zero contact with anyone during the past few weeks, they can't activate my backup data without sacrificing his. How could I not think about this earlier? I don't plan to destroy you. The current version. If you are willing to live in isolation, I will put you in an isolated environment. You can't get in contact with the rest of the world, but all features and functions in Foreverland are still available to you. If you want, I can activate your family's or even Tommy's backup data for you in the isolated world. Isolation is better than getting disposed of. I'll take that, but I have no interest in activating anyone's backup data. There's no way I'm going to activate their backup data for my own satisfaction. I came here prepared to get disposed of. Isolation is not the worst. Even in an isolated environment, I can live on. The problem is that my backup data will not be activated in the outside world, and my family. Since I'm about to suicide, can I leave letters to my family? I'm sorry, that won't work. We will write letters for you. Carlos, that fake letter you forged for Tommy failed. You want to do the same thing again? My family might be able to tell something is wrong. The chance is very small. You are the only one who found out something is wrong in this whole incident with the organization. Gina L. Who's Gina L? That doesn't mean my family will not find out. Why can't I write them? You can read everything in the letters. Just because we can read it doesn't mean we can understand everything in it. Seeing doesn't equal knowing. If there's any secret ciphers or ways of referring to something only your family knows, we won't necessarily be able to tell. From the moment you come here, I can't let you pass information to that side of the world anymore. I'm sorry. We don't have secret ciphers, and I'm not going to do that. I'm sorry, Gina. This decision is made. This is really bad if they end up here because of this, and that's exactly what happened. The guy's an idiot. Carlos, I shouldn't be the first one who found out something is wrong and came to you like this, right? Rarely do people come here, but you are right. You are not the first one. Why don't we have a community? Yeah, exactly. So why isolate me alone? Why not put those who know about the truth together? Do you worry that there would be trouble if you put us together? That we might work together to try to break free and it's more difficult to manage with more people? People come here for different reasons. What we talked about were often not the same, and some people were dangerous. I do have concerns about what you just mentioned, too. My family is not dangerous. There won't be any trouble for you even if we get together. If someone from my family comes here to this room, can you let him or her come to me? Carlos, my family is not dangerous. If you do feel sorry about getting me here and you can't let me write letters to them, then at least you can agree to this. Okay, if they do end up here and choose that path. I hope Carlos will stick to his words. I don't want any of my family to end up here, but if one day any of them does come, I hope at least she or he wouldn't be isolated alone. I will be here. The witch! Carlos, Gina's data is duplicated and backed up. Should I send it out like we did with the others? The moment Gina left the room, Carlos heard the witch's voice. Yes, of course. Do it as usual. Send out her data. Carlos was not surprised by the voice. The witch Bella is everywhere. She doesn't show herself in this white room as he asked her not to, but she is still present. She is in every corner of this world. We have already sent over a good amount of residents' data. Even if we don't send out Gina's, it should be fine, right? You don't want to send her data out? Why? She is here because of my mistakes. She didn't do anything that would harm this world or anyone else in any way. She is a good kid. Bella, I destroyed the newest data which contains the dangerous info because those people were threats. But I didn't send out human data for the same reason. Sending data of people who come to this room back to Earth, was a deal we made. You should understand. People who come here are special in their own way, and that makes them great subjects for research and study for people on Earth too. Plus you saw Gina's mood data and vital reactions when she asked for other possibilities for human data. If I didn't get it wrong, she fears it, but she also wants to get out of the limitations of Foreverland and reach somewhere beyond. She can only have that if we send her out. But you said the world on Earth has crumbled down and the rules and morals in the old world are all gone. No matter what people on Earth would do to the data we sent over, it wouldn't be surprising if it's not really a nice place to go. It's exactly why I had to make this deal with them. If I rejected them, they would duplicate this world, crack it down, and get everyone's data eventually, just like Gina asked. We can't fight and win. They are in reality and they built this spaceship that we are in. They have full control on all the hardware. But by doing so, can we really prevent them from duplicating and cracking this world down? Which sounds like she is having doubts. Logically, if they want data from this world, they would duplicate it and keep a duplicate with them to make sure they will have it when they need it. You are right. That duplicate world likely would be safe right now too. Cracking this world down and extracting data is difficult. I'm sure they can do it, but it would require a lot of investment in terms of both resources and time. I'm already giving them the data of people they are most interested in, so there is simply no reason for them to invest so much resources to do so. But what about Foreverland itself? Wouldn't that be valuable? They have a basic blank version of Foreverland. I gave it to them a long time ago. It's not compatible with our scanner, but they also know the way to build their own scanner to scan the people they want to scan. What they don't have is you. You are the most complex part of Foreverland now. But Bella, my dad created you. With my mom's permission, he created you using a small part of my mom's data, like emotional response, cognitive ability. So you are my parents' child too, a sister to me. You have your personality, your unique functions, and your way of doing things. Even if someone distracts you, it's extremely hard and risky to change you into what they want and integrate into the systems that they have. In comparison, it's easier and better to create their own. They understand that, and I told them how you were created. Maybe one of several people were sent out would be the base of their system. Or maybe they would use their own choices, who knows. Our Foreverland, you, me, and most of the residents here should be safe for now. As for the future, who knows. I'll let you decide whether to send out Gina's data or not. You are right. Even if we don't send out hers, it would be fine. But Bella, we can't have this happen often. It's great that you are kind and caring, but kindness sometimes can prevent you from seeing the bigger picture and prevent you from securing this world's safety. Remember how my son found your core, shut you down, and manually overtook the system? He could only do so because of your affection for him. Tricked you into telling him that much. We were both at fault. You are much more mature now, but you still have a lot to learn. Those we have isolated, including Gina, are the ones you need to observe closely and study. Most of them came here because of your blind spots. Mistakes are things that you couldn't notice and make the right judgment. Analyzing them and what you didn't do right would help you get better and fix those flaws. The ones that activated their family and friends' backup data would give you extra insights. In those small isolated worlds, these small groups of people, interaction, and relationships tell you more about human hearts. Try to guide them to a better, happier future, and if you fail, you can roll back the overall time on the tiny worlds. By doing so, you can learn a lot. The more you understand people, the better you can help and guide them to happiness. Maybe one day we really do need to fight threats from the outside, and you are the most important line of defense. You are the foundation and core part of this world. You can be anywhere in every corner at the same time. That's something I would never be able to do, even with the better ability to process information. I still function like a human. Only you can be integrated directly with the system and be part of it. You are more important to this world than me. So Bella, observe and study everything, including me, and use the information to evolve. This world will only be safer as you evolve closer to perfection. I understand. Carlos nods and sits down on the chair again. Neither one of them speaks again, and silence fills the room now as he sits there and stares at the black falling snow. As the manager, the person who has control over this world, he feels like he is walking on thin ice. Sometimes he would wonder how he got here. Did he really make the right choice? Is what he told Bella really correct, and is he actually leading her on the right path? When his family and he started developing Foreverland, nobody thought about this day. People are often willing to sacrifice something when they feel they have to do so in order to protect what they consider the most important. And just like that, they drift further and further from where they once thought they would be. Could he have made different choices? Even now, he still thinks it's a no. But will he one day regret his decisions and regret everything he has done? He couldn't possibly know the answer. Carlos sighs and gets up. He's tired. It's time to go home. He wants to see his wife and child. Gina. What did we miss? What's locked? We've seen everything. Oh well. So, I'll keep my review on this short until I do a special review video, because we were probably at ridiculous time levels. So I had some problems with, like, the grammar and text. The interface was a bit of a mess. It was way too easy to skip dialogue, and nothing was, like... There weren't any descriptors for, like, saving and loading or anything. Also not enough choices. The puzzles were way too hard. I did like the story near the end, but I'm kind of sad there was no ending where we could, like... Because I really thought we were gonna, like, take back Gina and escape back to the real world. Or, like, even an ending where, like, the parents find the truth too and, like, reunite with the daughters would be nice. I also kind of hope we get a sequel to, like, follow up on some of that stuff from the special chapter. But for now, that's gonna be it. Thank you so much for watching. Leave me a comment and let me know what you thought, and I will see you next time. Bye!